Hello, welcome to this NMC OSCE tutoring video. My name is Hannah. I'm a UK nurse, a university lecturer, and I've been an NMC OSCE programme lead and now provide independent nursing education and NMC OSCE preparation. Okay, so if you've watched my videos yesterday and you've been on the NMC website, you will know that the NMC has introduced some new stations into the OSCE exam. So in this video, I've gone through the deep vein thrombosis new APIE for adult nurses. So this is like my other APIE tutorials. I'm going to look at each section of that APIE in a little bit more detail. So until nurses sit the station, we won't know the ins and outs of everything, but we can learn what a deep vein thrombosis is, how our patient is going to present in our scenario, signs and symptoms, what is the treatment, what are the key nursing considerations in our assessment, what are potential care plans. I'm going to talk through a full care plan with you here and some other examples. What are those medications that we need to be looking out for and being aware of in our implementation chart? So how do we treat a deep vein thrombosis, and potential recommendations in terms of handing that patient over. So watch the end. I'm going to go through this in a bit more detail, drawing on a theory, using the NICE guidelines for deep vein thrombosis management as well. So it's evidence-based, and remember, these changes don't come in until after the 23rd of February, okay? But if you're planning to take your exam after the 23rd of February, you definitely want to start preparing for this new APIE station. Okay, so let's start off first with what is a deep vein thrombosis. So this is a formation of a blood clot in a deep vein, most commonly in the lower limbs, but you can get them in the upper limbs as well. It is a bit of a medical emergency because the main risk with a DVT is a small part of that clot dislodges and travels up to the lungs, and then becomes a pulmonary embolism, so a PE, and that is an emergency situation for the patient that needs to be treated. Okay, it's one of the reversible causes of cardiac arrest as well, so it can be potentially quite fatal. So how would we know someone's got a DVT? What are those signs and symptoms? So they might have unilateral leg swelling. So they might have one leg which is significantly larger and swollen than the other, particularly around kind of the calf area. They might have pain and tenderness as well. So in the calf or the thigh, there can be increased warmth in that affected area and discoloration of the skin or redness of the skin. There might be some dilated, smaller superficial veins, which you might be able to see. And when the patient walks or stands, the pain is a lot worse. So those are the classic kind of signs and symptoms. And in terms of our NMC scenario, if this is the scenario the NMC are bringing in, we would expect to see those signs and symptoms in our presenting complaint information, and for our patient actor to be voicing some of these signs and symptoms. So what are the risk factors? There's quite a lot of risk factors for people developing deep vein thrombosis, and it does mean that the scenario really, the background could be quite varied. So one of the key ones is immobility. So things where you've got kind of venous stasis, so immobility or bed rest. So these could be, patients that are prolonged time in hospital, or medical conditions or surgical conditions which are making them immobile. Recent surgery, so especially orthopedic surgery. So again, we could have a scenario with a patient that's had recent surgery and has developed these symptoms, or patients that's in bed rest because of other medical or surgical conditions. If you've had a long haul travel, so a long flight, if they've got paralysis or stroke. So you can see the variety of patient backgrounds that we could potentially have in this scenario in the NMC. The other risk factors is when there's injury to the endothelial layer. So this could be trauma, again, surgery, IV cannulation, and if there's kind of been previous DVT as well. And then the third kind of group of risk factors is when the blood clots too easily. So this can be quite common in pregnancy, patients with cancer, certain hormonal therapies, dehydration, smoking, obesity, and increasing age. So we could expect maybe our patients who have history of smoking, obesity, and be an older patient. So things to be thinking about in terms of what could we expect in this new scenario. So how's it diagnosed? So we do a D-dimer test, blood test. So this measures a protein fragment basically in the patient's blood, and it indicates that there is a blood clot has formed and then been broken down. And then other diagnosis tests would be kind of ultrasounding the area to detect the DVT. Treatment. So first line treatment is anticoagulation therapy. Compression stockings, more so to prevent or to reduce kind of the post-DVT symptoms and syndrome that patients can get. And if patients aren't suitable for blood thinners and anticoagulation for whatever reason, other conditions, then we can put in filters, vena cava filters. They don't treat it as such, but they stop small fragments of the blood clot traveling up to the lungs and kind of catch it like a little fishing net, if that's how you want to think about it. So what could we expect in our NMC scenario? Again, new scenario, we don't know yet, but we could definitely expect our patient to have symptoms such as pain in the leg, swelling, colour changes, potentially breathlessness. So a lot of patients present actually with breathlessness and the PE before, which kind of happens, after the DVT. So sometimes patients present first with that. So there might be some history of breathlessness, there might be a little bit out of breath. Then they could have a variety of history in terms of immobility. There could be recent surgery, again, plaster casting, history of smoking, dehydration, long haul travel, previous stroke, cancer. So we could have a whole variety of patients in this scenario. So let's look at the assessment station. So just remember the marking criteria for assessment station is the same across all APIEs. So A2E assessment remains exactly the same. We would want to be picking up and identifying any issues in breathing. Like I said, it could indicate that there is a pulmonary embolism. So, counting the respiratory rate, really important, signs of visual distress. Also any chest pain as well with that. So if we are picking up increased respiratory rate, patient acts as verbalizing any signs of respiratory distress, that's an immediate red flag and would need an immediate escalation. Pain assessment, again, so part of your disability, pain assessment's important. So pain assessment on the legs, potentially chest pain as well. In exposure, we would be assessing that leg and that signs of DVTs, like I said, any swelling, warmth, colour changes. Just other physical things to be aware of, maybe might come into our holistic side, holistic side as well. Important to have early mobilisation, but after your anticoagulants have been started. So that's an important point to remember. And I would be expecting maybe a fluid balance chart to be verbalised in this patient because we want to reduce kind of dehydration risk as well. Psychological history, so we want to look out for those risk factors, so definitely smoking, increased BMI, obesity, and offering advice on those to reduce those because we want to reduce any further DVTs from occurring as well. As with all your scenarios, you'll need to look at the social history and just identify if there's any social history concerns or risks. Patient education is also quite important with this station. So they're going to be on long-term anticoagulants. So we need to give some education around importance of medication adherence, recognizing signs of bleeding as well, and when to seek help. Planning. So what care plans could we do for this new scenario? So patient might have pain, okay, but we do know that a lot of the pain is sometimes written out of the patient's symptoms by the time you get to care planning. That's been happening more recently. So pain's not, guaranteed care plan. They might have had analgesics. You might need to write other things. So we could definitely do a risk of pulmonary embolism and respiratory distress. And I'm going to go through that whole care plan with you in a minute. We could do a general patient education care plan or trying to reduce the risk of further DVT. So we'd want to think about all those health promotion things around smoking cessation, reducing weight, improving diet, good hydration. So we could think about a educational care plan. There's definitely going to be a risk of bleeding due to anticoagulant therapy. So we can do a risk of bleeding care plan, which would be a little bit similar to a risk of bleeding care plan for surgery, slightly different things we want to be looking out for. And potentially there's risk of pressure damage. This patient might be reduced mobility. We know that until we start the anticoagulation, we can't we don't want to be having a lot of mobility. So there is that potential of risk of pressure damage. So always a good core care plan to have up your sleeve for the exam day. So this is the care plan I thought about in terms of risk of pulmonary embolism. So what's the problem? So, Johnny is at risk of pulmonary embolism due to the presence of a deep vein thrombosis. So our aim is to prevent thrombosis migration or movement and to detect early signs of pulmonary embolism and ensure prompt treatment. Okay, so re-evaluation time, I'd most people put an hourly re-evaluation time on this, keeping with that news to high frequency monitoring for breathlessness. So that's kind of where I'd put it on from a safety perspective. Interventions, so we're obviously going to explain plan of care and gain consent. We want to observe the signs and symptoms of a pulmonary embolism. So these are things such as your chest pain, shortness of breath, coughing up blood, tachycardia, also reduced oxygen saturations. In addition to that, we want to be monitoring and recording news to observations hourly and escalating as policy. We want to be administering the prescribed anticoagulation therapy and monitoring for effectiveness as well, potentially monitoring for signs of bleeding. We'd want to educate the patient on those symptoms of a pulmonary embolism so they know when to seek medical attention. We'd want to immediately escalate to the medical team if the patient deteriorates or shows signs of pulmonary embolism, and we could document all care as well. So that's one example care plan there for you. So moving on to implementation station. So NICE guidance is obviously anticoagulation therapy for 3 months. And some of the newer anticoagulation therapies have now been endorsed and approved by NICE. So that's apixaban and rivaroxaban. So we should expect to see those on our medication chart. So apixaban is 10 milligrams twice daily for 7 days and then down to 5 milligrams. Rivaroxaban, 15 milligrams twice daily. And then followed by 20 milligrams. We do also treat with warfarin, one of the older anticoagulants, and if patients can't have warfarin or apixaban or rivaroxaban, for example, we would treat with low molecular weight heparin. Okay, important with these anticoagulants that we wouldn't be giving non-steroid or anti-inflammatories as well. So be aware of your ibuprofens on your medication chart for pain. Okay, we wouldn't be giving those. It'd be contraindicated. Patient might also have pain, so we'd be thinking about analgesics in terms of paracetamol to be prescribed. And depending on the past medical history of your patient, there will be other medications, maybe things like antihypertensives, most probably, but we'll wait and see how these things progress. But those would be key medications to be looking out for in terms of your anticoagulation. So evaluation, it depends what your scenario is. If we're handing over to a nurse to nurse care, we want to think about recommending that they continue to monitor and assess for DVT complications, such as your pulmonary embolism and respiratory difficulties. We'd want them to continue to assess and monitor the patient's leg pain. We'd want them to provide information to the patient on their anticoagulation use and adherence to that medication for 3 months, and to educate them on the signs of bleeding. So this could be, easily bruising, bleeding gums, things like that. Blood in the urine, hematuria. We'd also want them to continue to do news 2 monitoring hourly and escalate as per policy. Continue a fluid balance chart, again, just to minimise any further risk of dehydration. Administer prescribed anticoagulants and monitor for the effectiveness and monitor kind of clotting as well. Support safe mobilisation after the start of anticoagulants. Potentially, they might have compression stockings on, so we'd want to educate the patient on the use of compression stockings long term with that as well. And if there was any smoking, alcohol, dietary health promotion advice that we've given in the holistic assessment, we'd want them to follow up on that. So we could have a standard nurse-to-nurse handover. Potentially you could be handing over to a doctor, so the patient has deteriorated, maybe they have developed a pulmonary embolism, the patient is very short of breath. So, recommendations there is we need that patient to come and be reviewed by that doctor as soon as possible. It is a emergency situation which needs an immediate review. So I hope that's helpful. That's my first thoughts on this scenario. What could it be like? Thinking about how I'm going to write my own practice scenarios as well for my own students, my own medication charts. So again, understand the presenting problem. Okay, don't panic because it's something else to learn. Don't panic at all. Understand deep vein thrombosis, how it presents, complications, medications and treatments, and you will not have any problems in your NMC OSCE exam because you'll be fully knowledged up in what to do with this scenario, and there should be no major surprises.